Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices, and you can sign up for product alerts. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Next week, the Essen Spiel Fair is going to happen, arguably the biggest convention in the world, and there are over 1,000 games being released there. I mean, it's going to be crazy. So typically I do two videos. One is my top 10 most anticipated games, which is this video, and another one which is my top 10 games that I've already played that are releasing there. Those typically are games that aren't quite out yet that I've had the pleasure of being able to play, and those ones are tried and true and I love them. I always think that list is more important than this list, the anticipated list, because those other ones are tried and true. I've already played them, I've already reviewed some of them. You can't really get them yet, they're gonna be released there, right? They've already passed the test. This one is like, hey, these look cool, I'm interested in them. I would think the other list is more useful than this one, but this one always tends to get way more views. It is what it is. So with that being said, here come my top 10 most anticipated games for Essen this year.
Number 10.
Number 10 is Caldera Park. Now this is from designers Michael Kiesling, Wolfgang Kramer. They're a dynamic design duo that have done so many games that are great. And anytime they do a game together, I typically am always interested. Last year they came out with a game called Savannah Park, which this is basically a sequel of. You know, in Savannah Park and in Caldera Park, essentially one player is picking something and everyone else is picking the same thing and doing something on their board, but everyone has a different puzzle, but everyone's essentially sort of playing the same exact game, but it's a different puzzle. I liked Savannah Park, but it felt like there was not enough there for me. This is being touted as, well, not only is it the sequel to Savannah Park, but there's more going on. They're calling it a next step game after Savannah Park. And so, yeah, you have this interactive puzzle that everyone's doing, but everyone's sort of playing the same-ish game. But you're trying to have perfect balance between your strategic planning and luck. So now instead of just taking an animal, like in Savannah Park, you're now choosing between a species or a watering hole and a terrain requirement. And so there's different choices you have, and then you're placing them on your own board, again, similar to that. So this seems like you have more choices, more things to think about, and it's gonna be deeper than Savannah Park. And I like the idea of Savannah Park, I just, you know, it didn't quite sit with me that great. So I'm hoping that this one will do what Savannah Park I was hoping to do, and that's Caldera Park.
Number 9.
The next one is Verdant, and this is basically you're a houseplant enthusiast trying to create the coziest interior by collecting and arranging houseplants and other objects within your home. Now, this is done by the same design team or designers in some collaboration of Point Salad and Calico, and it's the same publisher that also did Cascadia. And so this is a tableau building game with an abstract puzzle. So Flat Out Games, you know, as I said, they already brought us to Cascadia that uses a similar idea. Like in Cascadia, you're choosing two paired tokens together, right? Like you're taking like an animal and a terrain tile. And in this, it's a similar idea where you're taking a pair of a card and a token and then placing them. So that idea of, and I loved that in Cascadia, which was like, you know, it's tough. You want this, but you don't want this. You want this thing over here, you don't want this over here. And it was always a tough choice because they both do different things. And it seems like that's here, and there's a lot of abstract and how much light you're getting next to things. And I like these abstract-y puzzles from the games that I've already mentioned. And this is like the next sort of spiritual successor to that. So obviously I'm interested in this one, that's Verdant.
Number 8.
The next one is Maui. Now you'll notice on this list, I've got a lot of things that are sort of not maybe sequels, but they're based on things that I've liked in the past, or designers or publishers and stuff. Because this anticipated list, you know, once you like certain types of games, you tend to like those types of games, right? Maui is from Next Move Games, and Next Move is sort of an imprint from, like, they kind of spun off from Plan B Games. So they do games that have 4 letters and have some like abstract nature, and they're easy to learn, but have lots of depth, like Azul or Reef and Bees, so on and so forth. This is Maui. Not only, I would have been interested in it no matter who designed it, because Next Move does great stuff, but this is the same exact design trio that did a game that I loved, a 2-player game called Botanic, also called Botanic, however you want to say it, about being a botanist. and it was amazing. Also, one of the designs here, Sebastian Pochon, did Sobek 2-player with Bruno Cathala. He's done Jaipur. I mean, this is a great design team. And so in this, there's not a lot of information available for this. There's a couple pictures. The rules aren't available. I couldn't read the rules. I usually do that for these games in my top 10. But essentially, you're heading to the beach for a chance to find a nice spot to lay their towels, right? And you're looking at the amazing view of the Hawaiian Ocean. But so on your turns, you're going to be taking either like all the sand dollars, which is money, from either row of a market, or you're going to take a towel from the market, but the towels cost between 0 and 2 sand dollars. So you're either taking money or spending money, but the money that you spend gets placed in the market row. So some interesting choices there. And when you place a towel, you're going to have to match at least one of the patterns with a towel that's on the rightmost of your beach board. So you're going to be matching different patterns, again, abstract a little bit and things like that. And you're trying to match as many patterns as possible because for each match you make, you're advancing that pattern scoring marker on the scoreboard. So seems like a lot of interesting hooks here. Again, not a huge amount of information, but again, tried and true publisher and designers, and this line of games is always very good for me. So that is Maui.
Number 7.
Number 7 is a re-implementation of a Stefan Feld game back in the day of Bruges, and this is called Hamburg. When this was first announced by Queen, I was super excited because I like Bruges quite a bit, and they bringing out this new version, and it's been a while. I mean, it was a few years ago, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, when they was first announced and run and things like that. So they changed some things that, from what I've read and what I think, are probably going to make the game better. Like, one of the main things is, in Bruges, there would be 2 stacks of cards and there'd be different colors in there, and you could pick one of the 2, where now actually all of the cards, I think there's 5 colors, are all stacked individually into their colors, and you can just choose whatever color you want. You don't know what's on the backside, but you know which color you're getting anyway. That it's supposed to like make the game a little bit more strategic, a little less random and things, and they've fixed some other things too, and changed some things. But again, anytime that a game comes out of something that I already really like, then they update it, they refresh some things, they try to home in some mechanics. I'm always really interested. I'm looking forward to getting this and doing sort of like a side-by-side comparison to Bruges. So this is Hamburg.
Number 6.
The next one is a sequel to one of the most popular games out there, really. King of Tokyo is one of the most popular games. And now, well, later on, they got King of New York, which hasn't had the staying power of King of Tokyo. And now we have the first cooperative version of a game in this line of games, King of Monster Island. Okay, cooperative, you're working together, you got your own monsters, you're fighting against another monster, everyone's fighting together. The monsters they ramp up from easy to hard. The monsters have 2 sides, an easier, hard, and a hard side, so lots of variability of challenges. You're gonna be going to different segments of the board. Dice are gonna be rolled into this humongous, awesome sort of dice tower that's a volcano. And where these dice land, they're gonna activate, but not until the monster gets there. Okay, Richard Garfield, he does great stuff. I like the King of Tokyo side of things. I didn't like King of New York quite as much, but I do like cooperative games quite a bit. So I'm really interested to see what this is and to see if it's if it's gonna outdo King of Tokyo for me. I have cooled on King of Tokyo over time, but just because probably I've played it so many times, it's still a great game. I still suggest it to pretty much anyone getting into the hobby. I still play it with newer gamers and such. But I'm not. When I first got a hobby, I was like, it was probably in my top 10 of all time, and then it was in my top 20, and now it's in my top 100 still. But King of Monster Island, a cooperative twist on the King of Tokyo series of games.
Number 5.
The next is called 11, and it's spelled out. This is from Portal Games, and in this game, you're going to be running your own football club. Now, for us in North America, we're not talking about the NFL. We're talking about soccer from what the North America calls. Everyone else in the world calls it football, which makes way more sense, because football in America really doesn't have much to do with the foot. Sure, the field goal kicker could win you or lose you the game, but it's like the smallest part of the game. I don't know why it's called football. Anyway, soccer/football. You're running a club, and you're doing everything that an owner would do. You're trying to trade for players. You're trying to upgrade your stadium. You're trying to have a better coach. You're trying to give better equipment. All these different things, and then you will simulate a game based upon some certain things that you can manipulate. I just love this idea. In fact, there's a game coming out on Kickstarter in a couple months called Lords of Baseball. I'm a huge baseball fan. I played that game a couple of years ago, and I played it recently. And that's a game where you're running a club in baseball, and I love that idea. And to do it with this, I'm not a huge soccer fan, football, I do watch the World Cup every 4 years when it comes around. I do get sucked into that, but other than that, I don't really watch it. I have gone to a couple of the local soccer games here in Phoenix called the Phoenix Rising. So, I mean, I do love sports. I'm just not as big on this, but it doesn't matter because Portal Games makes great stuff. And I just love the idea of the economics. I love economic games. So trying to deal with the team's money and how to spend it and how to upgrade things, this just seems cool to me. That's 11.
Number 4.
The next one is Findorf. This is from 2F Spiele. This is Freedom and Freeze. You know, he's one of my favorite designers. He's very hit or miss with me. When he hits hard. When he misses hard. He swings for the fences with every game, and I love that about him. I love economic games. This is an economic game. And I love that he makes streamlined games. Last year around this time, he came out with Free Ride, which is sort of like a pick up and deliver style train game that was very, very streamlined, but huge depth, and I love that. This is an economic game that, again, streamlined. You've got 4 actions on your turn. But a lot of it is building up the engine of these actions where you're putting different tiles next to your actions, and every time you take that action, you're going to get more efficient at it. You're dealing with thalers or money, you're dealing with building things, you're dealing with peat moss as resources. You're looking at these cards that have these special abilities. When you use one of these cards, you need to place one from your hand back in, giving other people that possibility of using that action. This looks cool. Again, he's hit or miss for me. This looks really cool. I love economic games. I tend to like Freedom and Freeze's games. So anytime he comes up with a medium weight Euro like this, I'm always interested. I like how his games are streamlined, but yet they're always got really tough choices. And they always tend to have an economic aspect usually. And I love that. So Freedom and Freeze is a big one this time. Findorf.
Number 3.
This next one is from Days of Wonder. It's a racing game called Heat. And there's a subtitle there, but essentially you're racing cars. Now, I had a chance to play this at Gen Con. Unfortunately, I wasn't feeling well, and I wasn't getting better, so I went home early. I was supposed to play this with them on Saturday night with the Board Game Geek crew, and I had to go home early, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to play it. But I did talk to them about it. I have watched videos on this. It looks really cool. It's basically a hand management card game that you're playing to compete, and you could compete in a single race, or they have a championship system built into the game. Originally, that was going to be like an expansion, but no, they built it right into the game that you could play a whole championship in one night. But you're going to be customizing your car before each race in that championship series, and obviously you're trying to be the best on the podium. But you're selecting the right upgrades for your car. Some of them might help you with the curves, some of them might help you with your engine cooling more. You're trying to maintain top speeds. But in essence, this game is a card hand management. And I like this aspect of like heating up and trying to cool down and doing different things. So when I watch this isn't like a Formula Day where you're rolling dice, right? This is a card game, and I like that. And I always like hand management in games. I like racing. Racing's fun. I'm not like huge into it, but it's fun. But really, the hand management is the reason why I like this one's on my list. Plus, Days of Wonder they're known for doing like one game a year, and they put everything into it, and they have great attention to detail. So really looking forward to Heat.
Number 2.
Number 2 is actually a game that I've already played once, which usually disqualifies it for this anticipated list, because usually these are games that I have not played. But in this one, again, it was just a quick play. I don't have a whole lot of experience with it, but I did get a chance to get a sneak peek of this at Gen Con. This is called Great Split. This is from Horrible Guild. This is the guys that brought us Evergreen at Gen Con, which is amazing. If you have not played Evergreen yet, go check it out. Now in this, you are going to be drafting cards to collect riches, such as gems, gold, artwork, tomes, and you're going to be adding them to your collection. And you're trying to be the most prestigious. Now this game is cool because I like it when a game has simultaneous play. I like real time. This is not like a real time game, it's simultaneous. It's a simultaneous I split you choose, but you're doing this with both neighbors simultaneously. So you've got a hand of cards and you're splitting them up into like a little jack, a little book. You're passing that book to the player to your left. You're then receiving a book from the player to your right who has done the same thing for you. So you know what you've split up and get over there. You have an idea of what you think they're going to want to pick. You're trying to pick the juiciest things that will get them what they want, but also leaving you the things that you want, right? Because you can look at everyone's player board, everyone's moving up different Euro tracks and such. And the player to your right's doing the same thing. So you look at what they've given you and you're like, I know what I gave them. I know what I think I'm going to give them. If they do what I think I'm going to do, I want to take this one. If I don't think they're going to do what I do, I want to take, so it's interesting because you've got like two simultaneous I split you chooses going together. Once it's done, you get both books back, you put them together, you move up tracks, you do this and that. You're working up things. Some things hook into other things for long-term strategy and long-term goals and long-term points. The ways and the order that things score is different every game, so every game feels different. It's fantastic. And this is like, it plays up to 7 players simultaneously. So again, I had a little experience with this at Gen Con. I played a prototype version of this, but it's I'm still anticipating this one because I got a very small taste of it. Haven't done a review or anything like that, but that is a great split from Horrible Guild.
Number 1.
Number 1 for me is actually a game that came out many years ago, but has been brought back and sort of reintroduced by Portal Games. This is called Basilica. Now, Portal Games is run by Ignacy Cevicek, who also has a great podcast, if you haven't listened to it yet, Board Games Insider with him and the Podfather Stephen Bonacore. If you don't listen to it, you should, because it's awesome. Anyway, Ignacy did a nice video about saying how he was like the original developer of this game for another publisher. And it came out, it was in Poland, it was a small release, and now he's gotten the rights for it, and he's publishing it. And he's publishing not only the game, but the expansion that went with the game that put in more tiles and stuff all together. Basilica is a 2-player only tile-laying game. Think of it as like Carcassonne on steroids. I love Carcassonne. It was one of the first games I played, jumping back into the hobby many years ago. And I like tile laying. And I like tile laying that has more depth than Carcassonne too, though. But for this, tiles, like we all like multi-use cards. This has multi-use tiles because they're double-sided. Sometimes you're gonna be using tiles for area control, and you're gonna be trying to put your little people on there and control areas for scoring. But other times on the other side of that tile are abilities that you're gonna be able to take to sort of change the board and do different that. And it's interesting, if you think of Point Salad and you think of the game where you can take stuff or you can take a scoring thing. And sometimes in that game, you take a scoring thing because you don't want someone else to have it. Or you take a card that's underneath the scoring because you know the scoring card's gonna flip and they're not gonna get it. This uses that same thing. Of course, this was out before Point Salad. But where like, if I see an ability that I don't really want, but it's really gonna help them, I can take the tile that's in front of it, flipping that ability over, making it so that nobody can take it. And I think that is gonna offer so many awesome, tough decisions. A very in-your-face, fierce, 2-player cutthroat tile-laying game. I'm all about this. So I think this is gonna be just fantastic. I can't wait to play this one, and that's my number 1, Basilica from Portal Games. Well, I hope this helps you find some games or hear about some games that you didn't know about, or if you knew about them, maybe learning a little bit more. So if you're going to Essen, or if you're not, hopefully this will allow you to look into those games. And this has been a Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships with board games, and helping you find the next one you'll love. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below to late pledge for their latest Game Topper 3.5 Kickstarter campaign.